Trigger warning. The following podcast contains content that may be deeply disturbing. You will hear first-hand accounts from parents and family members who have lost children to filicide, the murder of a child by a parent or caregiver. These stories are raw, emotional, and shared from the perspective of those who have lived them. They include details of unimaginable loss, system failures, and trauma. Please take care while listening. If at any point you need to pause, stop, or step away, we understand. Welcome to Voices Against Filicide, the podcast where we raise awareness, educate, and advocate for prevention of filicide, domestic violence, and coercive control, and violence connected to untreated or escalating mental health crises. I'm Hooten, mother to Alec and Lydia Act, two children who lost their lives in a filicide case in May 2024. I'm also an author, a child safety advocate, public speaker, and this podcast exists to honor the children whose voices were stolen and fight for system reform and change so that other families never experience this unimaginable loss. Today's episode is difficult, so I'm giving a trigger warning. It's heartbreaking and deeply important. We're discussing the tragic Shreveport, Louisiana case that happened in the United States in April 2026, where 8 innocent children, 7 siblings, and their cousin were murdered by their father in an act of filicide. Authorities described it as domestic violence related, and it is an act of mass violence. This episode contains discussions of child death, filicide, domestic violence, coercive control, and mental illness involving violence. Please listen with care. What happened in Louisiana is not just another headline. It is a devastating example of how filicide can emerge from a dangerous combination of coercive control, escalating violence, emotional instability, domestic abuse, and possible mental health deterioration. It is important to say clearly, the vast majority of people living with mental illness are not violent, only about 3%. However, when severe untreated mental health issues combined with domestic violence and access to weapons occur, obsession with control, paranoia, or escalating rage, the danger can become catastrophic. Today, we will discuss the timeline of events, warning signs, and the role of domestic violence and coercive control that they play in filicide. The importance of recognizing dangerous behavioral patterns and changes, and why prevention and intervention matter so deeply. Most importantly, we will honor the lives of these 8 children. So welcome to Voices Against Filicide. On the morning of April 19th, 2026, police responded to reports of gunfire in the Cedar Grove neighborhood of Shreveport, Louisiana. What officers discovered was described as one of the most horrific scenes in the city's history. Authorities say 31-year-old Shamar Elkins carried out shootings across multiple homes connected to his family. By the end of the attack, 8 children were dead. 7 of them, his own children. The 8th their cousin. The children ranged in ages from just 3 years old to 11 years old. The victims were identified as Jayla Elkins, age 3, Shayla Elkins, age 5, Kayla Poof, age 6, Layla Poof, age 7, Mercaden Poof, age 10, Sierra Snow, age 11, Kedron Snow, age 6, and Braylon Snow, age 5. 2 women, including the mother of several of the children, were critically injured, but she survived. A 13-year-old child reportedly escaped by jumping from the roof during the attack. After the murders, the suspect fled, carjacked a vehicle, and later died following a police pursuit. Authorities stated early in the investigation that the attack appeared to be domestic in nature. The scale of this violence shocked the country. But advocates in the domestic violence and filicide prevention communities recognize many of the patterns often seen before family violence occurs. Filicide is the killing of a child by a parent or a caregiver. It is one of the most painful and misunderstood forms of violence in our society. People often believe, how can a parent that's supposed to love a child do something like this? But we have to understand that these people that commit violent crimes are not typical, normal individuals. They have a lot of underlying factors going on. And experts who study domestic violence and coercive control understand that in some cases, children become targets before the abuser views them as extensions of other parents. In many of these cases, the perpetrator's goal is not violence. It is punishment, domination, and revenge, and permanent emotional destruction of the surviving parent. As details emerged in the Louisiana case, family members stated that the couple was reportedly in the process of separating and had an upcoming court appearance connected to the separation. I want to let you know that research consistently shows separation is one of the most dangerous periods for victims of domestic violence. When an abusive or controlling individual feels they are losing control, the risk of lethal violence can increase dramatically. Coercive control is not always just visible physical violence. It can include intimidation, threats of harm, emotional abuse, isolation, monitoring what you say and text, manipulation, financial abuse, stalking, threats involving the children, and using fear to maintain power. Too often these warning signs are minimized until violence escalates. This case also raises difficult conversations around mental illness, just like in my case, involving violence and the importance of crisis intervention. Again, it is important to be responsible and factual. Most people with mental illness are not violent. In fact, they are more likely to be victims than the perpetrators. But when severe emotional instability is untreated with mental illness, paranoia, suicidal thinking, rage, homicidal thinking, substance abuse, or violent ideation combined with domestic violence and access to weapons, the risks can increase significantly. Here are some warning signs to watch out for. Escalating threats, obsession with control or getting back together, and hopelessness. Suicidal comments, homicidal statements, extreme jealousy, isolation, sudden behavioral changes, fixation on revenge, and threats involving the children or custody. Many perpetrators of family annihilation display patterns of emotional collapse mixed with control and rage before violence occurs. This is why intervention matters. Mental health support matters. Domestic violence risk assessments matter. Protective orders matter. And taking threats seriously matters. Because once violence escalates to this level, entire families can be destroyed within moments. Authorities stated that in this case, the suspect had prior contact with law enforcement involving firearms, and specifically in a case in 2019. Cases like this force difficult but necessary questions. Were there missed warning signs? Yes, in this case there was. Were there opportunities for intervention? Yes. In this case, the mother of those children, his wife, had asked police for assistance. Was the danger fully understood? No. In many cases just like this one, including mine, danger is often ignored or misunderstood. Again, in our human brains, we can't conceptualize somebody harming their own families, let alone their own children. But we have to make sure that we do. Could stronger protections have saved their lives? Yes. Were the children properly protected? Across the country, advocates continue fighting for laws that recognize coercive control and high-risk domestic violence and serious threats to child safety. Children should never become collateral damage in domestic violence situations. And protective parents deserve to be heard when they raise concerns about dangerous behavior. That is why I am pushing not only in Arizona for the Alec and Lydia Act, House Bill 2995, but once it gets passed there, I will push it to other states in the country, as this bill specifically hits on domestic violence and coercive control. Family courts have to understand these dynamics when they are going through custody agreements. Before we close, we pause to remember these children, not for how they died, but for who they were. They were children with personalities, dreams, laughter, favorite songs, favorite foods, and futures ahead of them. They mattered. Their names matter. Their lives mattered. And their stories deserve to be told with dignity, compassion, and truth. We speak their names because they should still be here. And I thank you so much for listening. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Voices Against Filicide. These conversations are painful, but awareness saves lives. Talking openly about filicide, domestic violence, coercive control, dangerous behavioral escalations, and mental health crisis concerns to violence. If we want prevention and change, we must continue to talk. If you or someone you know is experiencing domestic violence or is in crisis, please reach out for help. Intervention can save lives. Please contact 988 for support right now via text message or phone call. Please continue sharing this podcast, raising awareness, supporting protective parents, and advocating for stronger protections for children and families. I'm Hope Hooten, angel mom to Alec, age 7, and Lydia, age 6. And this is Voices Against Filicide. Until next time, keep using your voice for children who no longer can.